I really believe that every single one of us is called to be a leader. And that's in the decisions that we make, in the people that we hang out with. We're all called to be a leader in what maybe we don't maybe not think about it, but actually some of the choices that we make, with some of the things that we do or we buy, maybe they're actually leadership decisions. And it's the same with what we say when we're in a group of friends as well. We're actually all called to be leaders. And I think it's one of the most effective models of leadership, actually, is being the everyday leader. And the reason why I think it's so effective is because Jesus did it. He hung out with 12 guys when he was here on earth with us. He modeled that to us. And so everybody is a leader. And the thing I love about it is you look out to see what those guys went on to go and do. They changed the world just from hanging out with Jesus. And I think we can do the same. And as I was getting ready for this Snap Talk, I thought it would be really, really helpful for us to look at a couple of things when God asks us to do something. And sometimes God gives us a vision or a task, and we sort of go, God, you're asking me to do what? Hands up if you've ever felt like that, where God says something to you and you're like, you're asking me to do what, God? No, you're crazy. That's wrong. That's not me. I'm totally not the right person to do that. And I thought, well, you know what? It's probably really, really good for us to look at a couple of things where that's concerned when that happens. And I think number one is our attitude. What should our attitude be like in those moments when God asks us to do something? And I thought, let's look at the Bible. I thought, that'd be helpful to look at some different attitudes when God has asked somebody to do something. So let's look at probably the best way not to do it, and that's how Jonah did it. God asks Jonah to go to Nineveh and sort of preach a message that he knows isn't going to go down very well, okay, with the people in Nineveh. And Jonah's reaction is this. It's like, hang on, that ain't me, God. In fact, see you later. I'm going to look for the furthest away I can possibly go. So he looks on the map. He says, well, that's where Nineveh is, and I want to be over here. So he looks and he goes, where's that? Oh, Tarshish. Oh, I can catch the next trip to Tarshish. That's not going to be a problem for me to catch that. I'll see you later. So he gets on the boat. There's a massive storm. And then Jonah twigs and he realizes that it's him why the storm is happening. And he realizes it's because he needs to be thrown overboard at that point. Because he's like, guys, this storm is just going to get worse, so throw me overboard and sort of we'll let God deal with me. And Jonah gets eaten by a whale. And it's only when he's in the belly of the whale he really goes, all right, God, I'll go do it. I'll go preach to the people of Nineveh. And so the whale literally spits him up. And I don't know if you've ever been covered in spit, but I haven't personally, but I don't think it would have been a great experience. So that's probably the way not to have the attitude when God asks you to do something. It's not to follow Jonah's attitude in that moment. So let's look at somebody's attitude that I think actually is the best way we can look at it. And that's David. David's a young guy, similar to some of you guys here. And he hears about this giant called Goliath that's terrorizing the army of God. He's terrorizing the Israelites, the people of God. And he keeps on challenging somebody to go and fight him, and nobody will fight him. So David rocks up at the battle lines, and his brothers are there, and he's kind of dropping some supplies off because his dad sent them. And he says, I'll go fight him. I'll do it. Well, nobody else is offering. I'll do it. And so the King Saul hears about that. He's the king of the Israelites at the time, and he calls up David, and he's just like, there's no way you can do this, David. And David goes, yeah, I can. And he says, don't worry about this Philistine. Your servant will go fight him. David's attitude was completely different to Jonah's. Why? Because David knew that God was with him. Because David's attitude was, if God is with me, who can be against me? I think we need to have a similar attitude when God asks us to do something. So now what? You've had this great idea, or you're feeling God is asking you to step out and do something new. Well, I want to say this. It's important that you write it down. It's important that you write it down and record what you feel God is asking you to do. What's the idea? Write it down. Why? Because it's always great to have a record of what you feel that you're called to do. So you can come back at it and look at it. If you're looking at it when you keep on coming, having back, look, get my words out then. If you're looking at it, you can always make sure that you're on track. Is this the right thing that we're supposed to be going? Is this where we're supposed to be going? Is this what you said for us to do, God? So make sure you write it down. So my question to you this afternoon is, what is it that God is asking you to do? What's the vision and dream he's giving you? What has he put in your heart? Is he starting you to call? Is he calling you to start something new even? Could it be that he's calling you to start a CU in your school if you're here and you're still at school? Or in your college? Or even your workplace? We did a movement worship night a few weeks ago back in Bridgewater. And what was really great about it is that loads of different people came out from different places. And there was a bunch of students who all go to one of the local colleges, and they've all just sort of rocked up and started back in September. And they all said, "Oh, I know you," when they came to our worship night. "Oh, I know you." And one of them had the idea of starting a CU, but felt that they were all on their own. God had brought them together. And now they're starting the plans that we've been told about. They're starting to start a CU in that college. So God had given somebody the idea, and God had brought other people into that place. Could it be that you're called to start a house group to tell your mates about Jesus? Is he asking you to start a business? I'm not just talking about Christian things here. God could be asking you to become the next Mark Zuckerberg, or Steve Jobs, or Bill Gates, or whoever's really big in business right now. Is it that God is calling you to be the next entrepreneur in the business world? If you're somebody like me who's got lots of ideas, pick one and go for it. People who know me know that Rich is always coming up with ideas, and sometimes, my team are like, what's Rich going to suggest next? And sometimes I have to use the language of, we don't necessarily have to do this, but I've had an idea. And then we work out which one it is. But if you're a guy like me, and you've got a girl, I'm not a girl, but if you're a guy like me, you've got lots of ideas, then pick one and go for it. Why? Because indecision will cost you. Your indecision will cost you. Thinking that, I can't do that idea because I've got this idea. Go for it, guys. Yes, you can. Don't look back in 12 months' time and think, I really wish I'd started that thing. Just go for it. Tell others. It's important to tell others about what God has asked you to do. Why? Because if you sit on it all by yourself, chances are it probably won't happen. You need to start telling other people about it if you've been given an idea. And it's not a case of wanting to hold on to something tightly, because God has entrusted you to do it. If God has entrusted you to do it, then he'll make it happen. But start to tell other people so other people can get on board with it. I like to call it vision leaking. It's a way that you can start to bring other people. And when I do this, I love to see the expression in people's faces when they hear the vision that I think God has given us. And I kind of work out whether they're in or they're out very quickly. But sometimes they zone out if I'm talking at them for too much. So, it's kind of maybe some of you are doing right now. But there we go. Like I said, I'll forgive you. You're sliding into the carb coma after lunch. But they see if they catch the vision. And if they catch the vision, chances are they'll want to be in the trenches with you when you're seeing the vision happen. They'll want to see it come to fruition just like you. They're the best people that you can have around you to help make the vision become reality. And guess what? If they're not interested, don't be discouraged. Guess what? Some of the stuff we're doing at the minute, we're looking to who we're going to partner with and who we're going to work with. And I'll use the example of the marquee contractor. We had one marquee contractor that actually doesn't want to work with us. And how do we know that? Because he tried to charge us 4 times the price that everybody else seems to be charging. So I was kind of cheeky, and I asked a bold question. I said, "Do you want the job or not?" And he said, "Not really." So I said, "Well, thank you very much." There we go. Don't be discouraged. We've got other marquee contractors that we're talking with and looking like it's going to happen. So what I'm saying is, don't be discouraged if people don't want to get on board with your vision. It's okay. Let them get on and do their thing. Find the people that want to be part of what you're doing. I've had church leaders tell me that it's never going to happen, that I'm crazy for even thinking about it when I've come up with some ideas. But guess what? The ones that have worked, God has brought other people on board to get involved and help to make the vision come to fruition. And my number one top tip is find somebody who can be your coach. Find someone who can encourage you, who can help you take the next step in bringing the vision to life. And my last point is this. I want to say, stepping out when God has given you a vision involves risk. It does involve risk. You actually have to have a go. You actually have to take the first step in actually making it happen. Most of the time, I think God is just asking us just to be obedient in taking that first step. And then he shows us what the next step should be, and then what the next step should be, and then the next step should be. So if I was to ask you a question right now, where is your risk level? And I'm going to ask it again in a minute, because I think we spell risk like this. I think we spell it Faith, which those of you who are really good spellers will know says faith. So where is your faith level right now, friends? Is it that you have a little bit of faith that God will do it, and do you know what? I'll sit back and try and watch it happen. Or actually, is it that you have a great faith level, God will do it, and God, what do you need me to do to help make it happen? You see, faith in our situation, sometimes we look at our situations from a human perspective. We go, oh, well, we haven't got any money. Oh, we haven't got any resources. Oh, we're not going to be able to make this happen. When we look at things through the eyes of faith rather than a human perspective, faith calls us to step out. Faith says, okay, well, we've got this event, and guess what? We're going to need a venue. Well, guess what? Step out into what the need of the venue is. Start asking some people, actually, do we need a venue? It might not be a venue. It might be another resource that you need. It might be some finances that you need. Step out and ask. Have that level of faith. Don't let our human perspective on things put a barrier in the way. You see, stepping out in leadership is more than just expecting things to fall into place. Friends, we've got to be willing to help make it happen. We've got to be willing to roll up our sleeves and say, okay, guys, will you do this with me? See, a lot of people think leadership is this, is it's someone standing on a high platform and going, you do this, you do that, you do this, and you do that. True leadership is this, friends. It's, guys, I'm in it with you. I've rolled up my sleeves. Let's do this. That's what true leadership is. And guys, you can do it. So if you've got a vision of seeing a youth worship band in your church, guess what? It might mean you have to play guitar. You might have to learn to play guitar. If you've got a vision to go to Africa on a missions trip, guess what? It might mean you have to go and wash some cars to raise the finances to buy the plane ticket. Friends, I want to say this. Every time I've asked God for something, after he's asked me to do something for him, I've asked him for an opportunity in order for that to come to fruition. An opportunity to serve, an opportunity to speak to somebody about the vision. And guess what? He's always provided an opportunity. Movement back in 2015 was a risk. We didn't know if anybody was going to come. I'd left my job. I sort of stepped out on a limb, and I was kind of like, Lord, you're going to have to bring the finances in to make this happen. And guess what? He provided. Then you've got Movement Conference today. It was a risk. We didn't know if any of you guys were going to come when we mentioned that we were going to do it. Friends, I think God wants us to be more expectant of him in our everyday lives. Because when we become expectant of him, we allow God to work through us. So I want to say this. If God has given you a vision to do something, I want to say, yes, you can. If God has given you the idea of reaching somebody, I want to say, yes, you can. If God has put something on your heart to do something for him, I want to say, yes, you can. I was looking for some quotes about leadership that I thought would be, really great, and I could charge you with this. But I really liked these two things that I found. It says this. It's by a leader called Andy Lancaster. It says, leadership is about having the vision to do what others haven't considered, the courage to do what is required despite the risks, and the inspiration to enthuse others to willingly share the journey. Guys, we're all on a journey with God. And when he asks us to do something, I believe it's part of the journey. And guess what? We're human. And another quote I found was by somebody called Liggy Webb. Literally, that's the name, Liggy Webb. It says, being a leader doesn't mean being perfect and not making mistakes. It's about being real, authentic, and most of all, human. Guys, this afternoon, if God has asked you to do something, I want to say this. Yes, you can.